U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
To 2 fatal crashes of its 737 MAX jets. That's according to a court filing by the US government late Sunday. If approved by a federal judge, the plea would brand the plane maker a convicted felon. It will have to pay a fine of over $243 million and invest more in improving safety. The charges flow
he
from
could
the
have at
fatal
least
crashes
condemned
in
both.
2018
That's
and
all I'm saying.
2019, which killed 346 people. They were later traced to a design flaw in the jets, which has since been fixed. Boeing subsequently struck a deal with the Justice Department deferring any prosecution in return for compensating victims' families and improving its compliance. However, officials this year concluded that the firm had not complied with all terms of the deal. Boeing's position wasn't helped by the mid-air blowout on another MAX plane earlier this year, which raised new concerns about its quality control.
Okay.
It faces a separate criminal probe over that
we're
incident.
finally done with this story?
Nope. Not at all.
I mean, we followed it from start to finish.
We did.
No, I think it's pretty much done.
Reaching a deal to plead guilty in a case related to the crashes of 737 MAX planes 5 years ago. Phil LeBeau joins us right now. He's got more of the details on that. Phil, good morning.
There's 2 authoritarian, barbaric systems that we should adopt, but only for corporations that fuck up. If we're going to give them the breaks, I think that we should compromise in other places, right? So, like, partial public execution, except we're not going to execute anyone, and the flogging from Singapore, right? We get the corporate out there, they have to be spanked in front of the whole nation.
Spanked, sure. I say rotten fruit.
What
rotten tomatoes and shit.
Oh, throw tomatoes at them? Well, we can also throw tomatoes at them while they get spanked.
Shame kind of shit.
Okay, think about it. You know at the zoo how you could be a tiger when you put your head in the hole?
Yes.
That's what it's like, one of those clown portraits that are in the front of them, right? And it's like you have to paint the clown's face, right? And then while that's happening, he's making Tom and Jerry screams from being flogged.
I'd be okay with this.
Becky, this was a filing late last night, and it is a guilty plea by Boeing. So let me go over what the terms are of this plea agreement between Boeing and the Department of Justice. Again, they jointly...
So it's easy. So all you do is you get a bunch of 3-year-olds, right? And you just put them in the water that he's going to be dunked into, and it will become piss. On the 100th child that you put in there.
It'll slowly turn.
Filed this with the court last night. The charge is conspiring to defraud the government. By the way, that is a felony charge. We'll talk about the significance in just a little bit of it being a felony.
Is Boeing being nationalized? I don't care.
Pending in 2019, Boeing has declined to comment
on the details. Can you believe that most people put this story above a hospital being bombed?
And we put it at the very end of the stream.
Of the plea agreement, simply saying that it had reached an agreement. This does not sit well with the relatives of the 737 MAX family. We knew that they would not be happy with this agreement. Javier De Luis issued this statement overnight. The penalties and conditions imposed on Boeing as a result of this plea deal.
What do you mean?
Trump gone. It's part of the title.
Oh, yeah, there's Trump videos. That's Trump gone.
There's the one Pac-Man video.
Sure. After the Australia stuff.
I think if rage quitting on Pac-Man is always a good way to end the show, because he says some dumb shit. We rage quit on him as much as Fox News, Yeah. I think TYT, we have completed the least amount of videos by them.
I think so, yeah.
I would like some crazy person who becomes a fanatic in the future, who's coming back 10 years from now to watch all our stuff. I think you, crazy fanatic, I'm talking to you directly because you're my best friend. This is totally a parasocial relationship. You should follow the clues. You're correct in your brain. Start making a chart on how frequently we finish videos for me.
That would be funny if that eventually happens. How many videos do we actually finish?
For a fraud charge, that factors into
some psycho made a chart for Hassan showing how often percentage of his stream he's not at his desk and shit.
That's fucking hysterical.
And he's like,
seriously?
"You fucking psychos! Like, you're fucking like, you're literally like watching my life, right? And like policing me, right? Like,
dude, no, that is getting good habits. You should listen to your chat, Hassan. You should listen to these people who
no,
track.
it was
I'm
very
assuming about
weird. They like
35%
listed
of the
all
time he
his
wasn't in the
daily
chair.
activities and shit. It was very weird.
Okay, maybe it might have been a bit much. If it was just him getting up from his chair, fair enough. I would say it's probably about 30%. But, you know.
Defense contracts that the next CEO will have to keep in mind. Boeing believes that you can get a waiver, let's say from the Defense Department, Becky, if there is a charge, you know, or if there's a program that they bid on. And let's say Boeing has the best bid, they believe that the Department of Defense will be able to issue a waiver, because right now, if you have a guilty plea to a felony conviction.
Here's how you solve this problem. Split the civilian aviation from the military aviation, nationalize the civilian aviation, and then Boeing can continue having their shitty little military contracts. And then America gets a fancy little America Eagle-powered jetliner. And then you can call it the Freedom Plane. And you can call it the Freedom Plane 911 and sell it worldwide and not have any problems, because America good, right? America engineering and shit. Yeah, American made. I'm sure that's a thing. There's like buy American made. Is that a thing? I'm sure it is.
Sometimes.
In many ways, you're not supposed to be able to win a government contract. But according to those who I've talked with at Boeing, they believe that there's some wiggle room.
What if the fine wasn't $240 million, but the fine? Look at this fucking cat, man. My lizard's about to fuck him up. Look, he's going. I'm not sure if you can actually look.
I can see the lizard's little head.
They're like staring each other down. Get him. Yeah, get him. Funny animals.
There, and that if it's the right contract and Boeing is the right bid, they could receive a waiver from the department that is overseeing the program that is being bid on.
Phil, it's such a strange thing to say that this is a felony agreement, that Boeing's a felon, yes, but no individual really is responsible anywhere for anything.
Right.
Fucking.
Well, corporations are people, so we're going to arrest Boeing and put them in prison.
Is that actually a thing? Like, are they actually considered people under the law?
Yes. But because they're not physical entities, they can't go to prison. So
how can you be a person then?
Well, that's
be charged with a felony.
Well, that's the thing, is that's the way corporations work, and that's why that's the biggest issue in the like so-called like anti-meritocracy structure is the failed upwards mentality.
Yeah.
Like all these CEOs bankrupt companies and then go to work as a CEO in a different company. Like most CEOs have more losses than wins under their portfolio, but it doesn't matter because they have experience running all these companies.
Yeah, and that's all.
It's
that
like
matters,
the same
right?
5 people, you know, who they keep hiring as CEOs. It's way
the
more
same
than
fucking
that.
problem. It's the same problem as every job, right? You need experience to get the job, but to get the job you need experience, and to get experience you need to get the job, but to get the job you need experience, right? It's the same circular logic bullshit in the hospitality industry.
Bro, so like in that one interview I sent that I was like, oh, you should watch this interview and not sleep on it for a month. He's talking about how he's talking about how he worked at G4 and there was just guys who came from like companies, and he's like, well, do you like games? And they're like, not really, I'm just here to spice it up, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, no wonder it went under.
Yeah.
No, you're making
I wonder why
shit
it went
that's
under.
not for your audience, right?
Yeah. Insane.
And that's how it works.
Yeah. But it was artificially inflated capital, right? That's all it was. So that whole 10-year period was held up by artificial capital. None of those companies were ever making money. They never actually cared. It was all a rort, really.
Well, remember, there was a trial. There was a trial, and there was an individual from Boeing who was put on trial for charges related to the 737 MAX program, as it was.
Imagine being the fall guy for Boeing when it was really the CEO trying to cut costs. And then he gets a sweet little pay package and a $50 million a year fucking CEO deal. And probably a nice cushy new job at Raytheon, I bet.
He'll fucking go, no, but it'll be like it won't even be the same industry. He'll go be a CEO at like McDonald's. You know, like when they fired Steve Jobs, do you know who came in and replaced him?
Tim Cook?
No. Back in the day, before Macintosh.
No.
And shit. Well, I think it was after Macintosh, before the iPhone, right? So Steve Jobs got voted out by shareholders at Apple, right? And he went and was the CEO of like a different company that basically did nothing or something. I think they invented the Newton or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
But he basically comes back and then it's iPhone time, right? So when the shareholders vote him out, the lead shareholder used to be the CEO of Pepsi, right? So the guy who replaced Steve Jobs after the Macintosh, and they voted him out because the shareholders didn't like him because he was too combative or some shit. They replaced him with a guy who sold soda pops, right? Do you think that's cross experience, like compared to Steve Jobs running Apple? Like, I know we don't want to put too much credit on his shoulders, like it was the engineers, right? And like Wozniak to this day wants Steve Jobs to acknowledge that he's not the genius and the engineers helped build the tech. And that's been a huge divide between them.
Would they say that Steve Jobs was just like the vision guy? Right?
Yeah.
He just had the ideas. He's the ideas
man. He's a fucking psychopath, bro.
Yeah. But he was like the ideas man and just reaped the benefits of the engineers, right?
Basically,
typical wage theft, right? Of CEO wage theft. That's typical, right?
But still, like, you can't just say that he didn't he at least knew what he was doing for building computers. He wasn't going in and selling soft drinks.
Yeah.
He went to a computer company after being fired.
Yeah.
Well, by the fucking shareholders voting him out.
Being designed, and they could not get a conviction. The Department of Justice could not get a conviction.
I remember.
And the belief is this.
So he knew that they couldn't build an OS for the next system. So he builds like a new computer company that's actually just to make the OS that he knows Apple is going to need. So they bring him back to get that OS. That's what it was.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?